ready, I'm ready to get in the game. Well, then it's time to pause and play.
Hello, everybody. This is Father Luke Rowicki and
Brother Andrew Torrey.
my co-host on this amazing podcast that you know fondly as Pause
and Play.
And so we're in the middle of this series on discernment. We're calling it
All In.
Tell Me Why.
Why did life give me this card?
Because that was a little different than the melody that we had planned.
Tell me why.
Going all in. So, Backstreet Boys, thank you for that amazing little melody that we can use. You can really apply to anything in your life, just Backstreet Boys. There's a lot of wisdom there. So, we're continuing this path. Why is discernment even a thing that we're talking about? We talked about that. Awareness, the importance of knowing yourself. And part of knowing yourself, and actually he calls it an indispensable ingredient to discernment. Pope Francis, we're following his speeches he's given on discernment starting last year, is desire. What a cool thing to talk about, because no one on this listening to this podcast is without desire.
Yes. So Pope Francis, what do you remember what date this audience is from?
This is October 12th. So again, if y'all want to follow along, October 12th, audience with Pope Francis.
Yeah, so just go ahead and Google that, Pope Francis Desire, October 12th, and you'll find this awesome, awesome speech. And Pope Francis says that desire is, it's like a nostalgia for fullness.
What a cool definition.
Yeah, a nostalgia for fullness that never finds fulfillment and is the sign of God's presence in us. That's his definition of desire. It's like, I want this fullness. I want this goal, but I never quite totally get it, but I keep on going forward. And that whole dynamic that he mentions is a sign that, hey, God is with you. But why? Like, why should I conclude that, Father Luke? Like, maybe I desire just to have... I mean, maybe I desire to have a family. I mean, that's beautiful. Maybe I desire to become a successful lawyer. And I know when I was a kid, when I was a baby, not a baby, when I had the age of reason.
When I was a baby, 10, I wanted to be a lawyer.
I thought of being like I love to argue, and so I imagined myself as being like the Chief Justice on the Supreme Court, like the highest position, is the best lawyer ever. How is that desire indicative of God's presence? Like, I don't see that relationship, but that's what the Pope says. Like, what's going on?
Well, we're made for greatness. We're made for God. And like, even the term nostalgia is kind of a strange thing that maybe like we wouldn't all like think, oh yeah, desire is a nostalgia. No, desire is like, I want that thing and I don't have it. And so get out of my way. I'm coming for you. But God is in us and he calls us to himself. And so like being a good lawyer and is like using these gifts that God has placed in your... I've never wanted to be a lawyer, for example.
Yeah.
Right. So it's indicative of that you are made by a God who loves you, has made you the way that you are, and you're not like anybody else. And you're desiring a good thing to give glory to him. All of that's wrapped up in this, what the Pope says is nostalgia, which is like, you don't have nostalgia of something you've never experienced. You have nostalgia of... Oh, when I was a kid, I used to swing on that tire swing as like the autumn leaves fell from the trees, and my mom called out hot apple cider. And like, that actually never happened in my life.
With that accent from the South.
My mom doesn't sound like that. So, but like nostalgia is like, man, like those were the good old days, you know? Well, like if we have nostalgia, it's actually like saying, like, I don't have nostalgia for... Weird example as I was reading this. Like, I never wanted Chinese food. I never desired Chinese food until after my first time going to Panda Express. I did not enjoy it. I got orange chicken. Everyone loves orange chicken. This is 15 years ago. It was a long time. I love Chinese food. And I got orange chicken. I didn't like it. And 2 weeks later, I remember like having the option, my dad saying, hey, what do y'all want for food? And I wanted orange chicken. It was so strange, but it's because I'd already experienced it that then I could crave it and desire it.
Yeah.
So, but Andrew, I think like, I don't know if that even answers your question, but there's something about nostalgia where it's like, on a spiritual level, we've already experienced, or we have some experience that allows us then to desire to go back to that thing.
Yeah, that we ultimately want, that we're ultimately seeking. Yeah, it's sort of like, I guess the way I look at it is, I have built into the innermost part of who I am,
fiber of my being.
I wasn't going to say that because it sounds so cliche, but whatever. I was going to say the fabric of my being.
That
whatever.
sounds just not even cliche. No one's ever said that.
Like, it built into me, like the way I am, like everything I do is because I desire ultimate fullness of life, right? And every little choice that I make is on this backdrop of like ultimate fullness. Like, you like just this simple exercise that you do, like, well, why do you want to be a lawyer? Oh, because one day I want to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Why do you want to do that? Because I want to
help people.
Contribute. I want to help people. Why do you want to help people? Because I want to
do something meaningful
with my life. Why do you want to do that? Well, because it's good. It's a good thing to do. Why is that a good thing? Well, because that's the way I'm made. And like, why are you made like that? Well, no, because somebody made me that way. Oh, who's
the
that?
Alpha and the Omega.
Exactly. So every little choice, every little desire that we have, or a big desire, or a big choice, is because of this ultimate desire that I think is this sign of God's presence in us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And desire, like just what you're saying, like it awakens something in us that on the day-to-day basis, if you're bouncing around from thing to thing to thing, like, oh, I want to do that. Oh, look over there, like squirrel, whatever. Like you're not aware that you're made for this great thing. Like just that those questions you just asked that came out in that really awesome, sometimes a little bit cheesy, but like movie of Philip Neri. You remember? You seen that?
Yes.
Like, he has like this young priest who's like, oh, one day I want to be priest at this amazing church. And then what? Pope Philip Neri is, and then what? And then bishop, and then what? And then cardinal, and then what? And then pope, and he gets all excited, and he says, and then what? And it makes him stop and think, like, man, yeah, it's almost like it's never enough because we're made for something deeper and greater. So we need to get in touch with that thing, and that's what desire is actually. Pope Francis says it's like a compass. What does a compass do? It leads you in a certain direction. It like helps orient yourself. So like, okay, oh yeah, this is where I'm supposed to go. We need to get in touch with our desire. Otherwise, we're just like shooting blanks. We have, okay, do I go left or right or down or up or I don't know. I just feel like doing, I don't know. I'm just going to sit on this couch because I don't even know. Like there's so many possibilities and I don't even know where to start. Well, start with, what do you desire deep down?
What do you desire? When you said never enough, I just wanted to like burst into never enough.
Well, the Greatest Showman. And that actually, and Brother Angel, that is like a great example. Like the protagonist is literally like that song describes like he's searching for something. He has to like make himself always bigger shows and more important and
more.
And then like, and meanwhile, he's like distances himself from what truly makes him happy.
And then what he thought would make him happy, like this amazing circus, everything perfect, it burns down. He loses it all.
It's like the cannonball. It is kind of like the St. Ignatius cannonball. It's like, that's what St. Ignatius always wanted. I want to be this glorious soldier riding in on a white steed and save the woman. All of that comes crashing down. And only when it came crashing down for Hugh Jackman did he realize, wow, I'm losing my wife and kids and friends, like these people that I've built this amazing thing with, because I had this idea of just like glory, whatever, money for myself. But then he says, from now on,
these eyes will not be blinded by the light.
And that light is not the light, which is God. It's like this, like the neon lights of that, like this world, like blared or like is inundating the world with, saturating our vision with, that doesn't allow us to see the stars in heaven. Like the beautiful, amazing world that God has given us, and find the true light, because we're blinded by these neon, like bug zapping type lights.
And what you said about this, let's go back to the star, because this is what Pope Francis says. And
so cool. Yeah.
He says that in this talk, he says that desire comes from this Latin word, We love etymologies here on Pause and Play. Desire comes from the Latin word desiderium, and in Spanish it's deseo, or in Italian it's desiderio. So, and it literally means the lack of the star.
Lack.
D-lack, D-E, sidus,
Like without that
desidus.
thing.
Exactly. So you don't have the star. You don't possess the star. You can see it, off in the distance, maybe like a little bit. You know it's there. Some of its light is coming to you, but not all of it. But you can walk towards it, but you don't possess it, right? And so that's what this dynamic of desire is that you don't possess it fully, but you feel this tension to reach it, to keep on moving forward. And I love this point that the Pope says, because it's like desire is this ability to understand where I am or where I'm going. It's to understand if I'm still or if I'm moving. Like, am I going somewhere? Am I just this, inert puddle of blob with no indication of like where I want to go or whatever? Or do I have passions that are moving me? And so I think Pope Francis wants to like wake us up. Like, what's your desire?
Yeah. Like, no one ever became a saint by staying an inert puddle of blob. Like that's that's not a sign of greatness. And like again, like going back to the star is like this light that excuse me. If you get caught up in the lights of this world, like the neon signs that says like, free hot Krispy Kreme donut, and like, and you jump from that, and then you desire like a smoothie, and then you're just like constantly going after all these things. You lose sight of that star.
Yeah.
Your desire is never gonna be satisfied by these other things, because you're made for that true light, which is the true star. And so he's talking about in the same audience. Jesus asks us these leading questions that are uncomfortable for us. Going back to self-knowledge, like what Thomas Green said, like we don't necessarily even want to know ourselves, because like I'm running from restaurant to club to bar to work to whatever, and sort of avoiding that I'm made for something greater. And I'm just kind of scared of I'm scared of failure. I'm scared of like, maybe, I don't know, my plans, things won't work out if I do like give up this thing. And so like we kind of clutch onto what we know and what's close to us and what's easy.
Yeah.
And we're scared to just like open up to this horizon, which is God, which beyond us, say what we can control. And so Jesus asks all throughout the gospel, going back to Pope Francis, like, do you want me to cure you? Or like to the blind man, what do you want for me to do? It's like, well, Jesus, it's really obvious. Like, it's a no-brainer. This guy's blind, that he sees. But Jesus wants us to clarify for ourselves.
Yeah.
So he gives this really interesting example of the guy at the pool, that I'm never, like, for 30 years, I've never been able to make it to the pool, and like this magical, miraculous pool that when people get in there, they're no longer crippled. This guy's been crippled, and he's like, and so instead of Jesus says, what do you want? He just complains. He starts complaining. And like, that's sometimes what we do. Like, no, I want to be cured. I want to be free of this addiction. I want to be all these things. Like, and so Jesus says, oh, what do you want? Like, oh, do I really want to be free of this addiction? Do I really want to give that up? Or does it become something that like, almost like, oh, that's who I am. That's why I need that. Jesus is so patient with us. God is so patient. He's so patient.
And in this dynamic, and Pope Francis says, like, by engaging with in dialogue with the Lord, we learn to understand what we truly want. That's a great line from Pope Francis. Like, and that's what Jesus does. Like, he draws out of us things that we weren't aware of. Like, he helps us to see who we are, and he does it. I just love this about him, is that he does it in such a humble, gentle way, and totally giving us the space, like the personal space, the freedom. He totally respects our freedom. He doesn't want to like. It's just amazing that God is like that for me. Like, because in many world religions, like, and one of the first ways that people understood how God was, like, God is like a big power, or the sun, or he's the force that moves all the planets, or he's a violent God like Zeus, like, who even comes down and rapes other people, or he demands to be recognized, and justice and thunderstorms, and there's a certain element of truth in some of these things, right? Like the greatness of God, the transcendence. But I just love how Jesus shows us how in this dialogue that you said with this guy at the pool who was there for like 38 years, he obviously he wants to be healed, but Jesus like says like, what do you really want? Like, do you really want to be healed? Like, he invites him to come out of this closed dynamic where he's just focused on like the little problems of like, oh, and like the guy's, blocking me from going, like he invites him out of that. He make his vision much bigger. And I think that's what desire is about. Like, desire is not just a whim. It's not like a capricious little whim that like, oh, today I want to go to Five Guys and tomorrow I want to go to Taco Bell or whatever. No, it's like the deep thing. Like, what are your deep desires in life?
Yeah.
Because those are the things that you need to judge afterwards. Like, those are the things that should inform your judgment afterwards and the choices that you make, the type of jobs that you go after, the person you marry, the courses that you take, like the big deep desires.
Even the things you say no to, like this is one of the things that I love what Pope Francis said, because like your yes, when it's like a informed, discerned yes, that like he said, he brought up the example of a doctor, which I thought I loved that. For us priests, there's things we say no to that are like, you're gonna say no to good things, but because you have a desire for something that's like that you're focused on, like a greater good, like a desire that speaks to your heart. And so there's a lot of good things out there, but if you just go to all of them, you're just like a magnet to this thing, like a magnet to that. You're never actually gonna stay the course and reach the destination and the goal, because you're all over the place. And so saying yes to this is to whatever it is, like you need to know and like get in touch with your desire. Like he said, the core or the fiber or whatever of your being, get in touch with that. And then say no is almost easier, because there's like, kind of going back to that first episode, like there's a joy there. And he, like Pope Francis brought up in that first audience, like the guy who sells everything to buy the field with the treasure.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he didn't go back and forth, right? Like he found a treasure and all the other stuff was immediately, like, even though what St. Paul says, like rubbish in comparison.
Yeah.
Like, you're free. You're now free to choose that good. You're free to say no to things that aren't helping you get to that.
Yes. Yes, because saying no can be good.
Yes.
Like sometimes we think that freedom is just, okay, I want all my options. I want like 67 different types of cereal, of like cinnamon cereal.
Or like La Palma in Rome, like the gelato place has like 150 flavors.
150, like we just want so many options, and there are good things about options. Yes, of course. Like I like having, triple double decker, whatever type
mango,
of ice cream.
coffee, lime with a twist of stevia.
Exactly. Like I love that, and I never want that to go away. But
and it doesn't have to.
But there's also a bad thing about having so many options, because it can paralyze us from from seeing even what's really important, right?
Pope Francis says atrophy our desire. I thought that was so cool.
What a great verb. Yeah. Like all those choices atrophies us. It atrophy, it means like the muscles grow weak. You just become an inert puddle of blob.
Oh, there it goes again. Inert puddle of blob. That inert puddle of blob wouldn't even know what to do with himself in La Palma, this amazing gelato place near the Pantheon. If you ever go to Rome, check it out. But I know what I want.
You should come to Rome for my ordination next year.
Yes.
Priestly ordination, folks.
It'll be around April or May 2024.
That's right.
But let's be people who know what we want. And that's going to take time. We're going to, in the future, a couple of episodes later, talk about like how we can even be in touch with ourselves through the examination of conscience. Not like the examine to like know what I sin before I go to confession, but examine to know like what moves me. And like as you get deeper into touch with what moves you, you're going to notice this is what I really desire. This is what God has placed in my heart.
Tell me why.
Why has life dealt me this card?
'Cause I'm going all in. All right, Father Luke, I believe that there are 2 cards left. And one of them is for you, and I know which ones they are. And I know which one I want you to get.
It's a jack or joker. So you're going to tell me left hand or right hand.
Left hand.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Jack.
No, dang it.
Next episode, Brother Andrew's going to tell us a hilarious joke. So, Jack, this is what would I say to Jack about his desires? Wait, is it my turn or your turn?
It's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. So,
wait, are you making up your own question and you get to answer it, or do I get to make up?
Well, or do you have a question about desire for Jack, like on behalf of Jack?
Well,
let's say you're Jack calling in.
Okay.
This is Jack.
Okay.
He's got. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jack. I'm a really popular kid at high school.
It's probably because you curl your hair at the end.
And I have a question about desires.
Sure, go ahead, Jack.
I have a lot of desires. I want to be a meteorologist. I want to be an amazing lawyer. I want to be the Pope. And I want to be a journalist. How do I know which one to do? Thank you. Bye.
Okay, Jack, so it sounds like you have a lot of gifts and talents. You can tell when it's about to rain, or at least when it's raining. And you want to report on that and be a journalist. I don't see actually how those things could even contradict themselves, because you could totally be a journalist who journals on the weather. So I would say, why do you desire those things? Go deeper and see like what is behind that desire. What's deep down what you desire. If you're desiring money and that's a quick, easy way to make money, think again, I would say. If it's because everyone's telling you you'd make a great meteorologist because you have just that like newscaster anchorman smile, but you've always wanted to do something else, don't do it just because everyone's telling you to do it.
He did say he was popular. Remember that.
Yeah. So like we can't be swayed by those kind of things. Those are like the neon lights that if you were listening to the episode, Jack wouldn't have even had to ask this question, but sorry.
Amazing.
But if like those are these other things, these like smaller lights that aren't the star that was going to bring you true happiness. So I would say if you feel passionate about providing the rest of us with a accurate or at least reliable prediction of what the weather's going to look like this coming week, that's like you're passionate about that. You've always found joy in that. You're passionate about helping people in that way, and that is very important. And I don't know why Brother Andrew's smiling, because that's a great vocation to be a meteorologist.
Well, he also said that he wants to be a lawyer and the Pope.
Oh, okay.
So how does he combine all these desires into one like mega desire?
Nope. Okay, Jack, I think you weren't paying attention to our podcast, because saying yes to that thing that you truly desire is gonna mean saying no to certain things. If you desire to be the Pope, go deeper and be like, why do I desire that? And kind of like what we walked through that. So I'd say go back and listen to our episode again. Like if you desire that, why? And like what after that? Like what is deeper there? So I would desire that because this. Okay, well then why that? And go deeper and say, okay, in the end, what I want to do is be a mentor for young people as then like what's the best road for that? Look at the opportunities that God is opening up around you. You just met a really fulfilled teacher at this high school, and like that seems like a great way to fulfill that. Or you met this awesome priest and you think, I could see myself doing that. Allow God to speak to you through your desires, but also through the circumstances around you. And if it is meteorology or if it is being a lawyer, if you're following that desire that you have deep down, then you're going to be fulfilled doing that, young man.
Well, on behalf of Jack, let me thank you for that answer, laying it out right there for me, for Jack.
You're very welcome.
I'm not Jack.
Jack's right here in my pocket. So, folks, that was the episode on desire. Let's continue getting to know ourselves and trusting that God is trying to speak to you always. In this podcast, through the things around you, through the events and circumstances of your life.
Pay attention to your desires, folks. Don't be inert blobs of blobbiness.
Because remember, folks, like if you're just like going around like crazy, like chickens with their head cut off, you're just doing. That's not what we do on this podcast, because we don't just do.
We doonquay.
Shout out to our old TGIF.
Oh yeah, fans. TGIFF.
God bless you all.